Hello and good evening, Chicago. Welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. It's the last Monday in February. The drop-dead date for when Major League Baseball needed to have a deal. Otherwise, the regular season was going to be affected. So said Commissioner Rob Manfred. Well, did a deal get done? Is Major League Baseball going to have a full 162-game season? We will be discussing that, plus more, plus the talks from down in Jupiter, Florida. Are they actually getting anywhere with any of these talks? We will be discussing that on tonight's show. The Bulls have a rough week this week, playing right now down in Miami. Then later on this week, going to Atlanta and taking on the Hawks before finally finishing things up at the United Center on Friday night against the Milwaukee Bucks. Woo! What a week ahead of us. Will we be talking about the first place in the Eastern Conference Bulls when we meet next week? Plus, we've got a guest on to help talk about the Bulls tonight. Evan Bruner from Fansided is going to be on to break down and help us settle the debate. Is DeMar DeRozan having the best season by a Bulls player since Michael Jordan? We will be discussing that. And then finally, the Chicago Fire Football Club began its 2022 season this past weekend down in Miami. We will discuss the Fire to wrap up the show. All that and more. This is Chi-Town Weekly. Buckle on up. Let's have some fun. And good evening once again, and welcome into Chi-Town Weekly. I am your host, Adam Karnick. I am so excited to be with you guys here tonight on the final Monday in February. We have got a ton to go over here tonight. Going to be talking baseball with the MLB labor talks or lack of labor talks, depending on how you want to view it and look at it. Then we will switch gears and go over and talk about the Bulls, who are right now down in Miami taking on the Heat with first place in the Eastern Conference on the line. We've got a guest lined up for that segment as well. Evan Bruner from Fansided is going to join us to talk about the season that DeMar DeRozan is having specifically. Might this be the best season that a Bulls player has had since Michael Jordan graced the United Center and before that Chicago Stadium? We will be discussing that. And then finally, a sport that we don't talk about a ton here on this show, but it's got to get its due as well. The Chicago Fire began its 2022 MLS season over the weekend down in Miami with Shaqiri and a young up-and-coming netminder in place for the Fire. So we will be discussing them before the end of the show tonight. But before we go any further, of course, we do need to acknowledge all of our sponsors here at the show, starting with the Southern California Warriors semi-pro football team. The world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organizations. Players pay to play in hopes of so many different outcomes, whether it's playing to get filmed to try out for professional teams, big-time colleges, or just playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on a quest to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance if you love your sport. You may get that second chance you've been waiting for as an athlete. Find them on Twitter at SoCal Warriors or Instagram at Southern California_Warriors, or go on Facebook and search Southern California Warriors. And Background Check International. Businesses, are you looking to background check a new hire on? Let Kit Fremen take care of that for you. Kit founded and has managed Background Check International since 1994, and he's here to help you with the screening process. Contact Kit and let him help make the hiring process that much easier. This business is used for professional background checks and not for the use of any crimes, such as identity theft or any other illegal activity. Go to their website, bcint.com, or search them on Facebook, Background Check International -BCI. And IE Sports Radio is available on all the major social platforms for you at IE Sports Radio, whether that's Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. For the last 7.5 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content, ranging from interviewing legendary athletes to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. All the while, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans. And with your help, we are ready to take the next step. When you go to our website, iesportsradio.com, you'll see our Patreon link with 5 different tiers. The first one starting at just $5 a month. This donation gets you shout-outs on all 30 of our shows. Higher tiers include IE Sports Radio merchandise, access to our podcasting university, and even a chance to be featured on a segment of our flagship show, The Defining Moment. Thank you all very much for continuing to make IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. And while you're there as well, you can learn about all of our shows there. We've got a couple of new shows that have joined the network. They're going to be making their debuts later this week. We've got a new show out in Buffalo and out in Las Vegas. Both of those shows are going to be debuting tomorrow on the network, so be sure to check those out. You can also learn about our Fan of the Month. For example, this month, it's Spuds Chat, who is a Rams fan out in San Diego. He was a frequent guest on 3 and Out throughout the NFL playoffs, and I am sure he is just ecstatic about the Rams winning the Super Bowl. And, of course, this show is available for you as well on Twitter at IESRC, or if you like, you can also follow along with my personal Twitter handle, that is at Adam_Karnick. And if you are listening live tonight on Spreaker, go right ahead, get yourself a username, sign on in, and you can join in the chat, just like Taryn and Mike are doing in the chat room tonight. Good evening, gentlemen. I hope you're both doing well. Taryn is, of course, getting ready for Set Point later tonight. Going to be talking all things volleyball, including, it looks like he's still going to be talking about Loyola men's volleyball, just continuing to stay in the news. And Mike, I understand you are a little under the weather, my good man. Take it easy, rest up. I hope you feel well soon, my man. We can have some fun and interact. I hope that I'm able to make you chuckle, make you laugh, give you a little bit of entertainment here this week. Of course, with the conversation we're going to be starting with, I'm not sure how much chuckling or laughing we're going to be doing other than maybe some gallows humor, because we have to start off with the Major League Baseball labor negotiations. Yuck. Today was, of course, the unofficial drop-dead date set forth by Commissioner Rob Manfred on if we don't have a deal in place by February 28th, then games are going to get missed. Well, it's now a little after 7 o'clock on February 28th, and no deal is in place. If you want to find a silver lining here, Manfred hasn't come out and announced that games are getting canceled. So we haven't gotten that announcement yet, which I guess no news is good news in that case. But at the same time, by all accounts, they're not that close. They've still got a ton of issues that they're coming up with, that they're continuing to have, problems they're continuing to have. And as we sit here, my comments in the chat that I hope they're using Pacific time. Well, they never really set a time, to be honest. They never said it's got to be by 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, whatever. They never said a time. He just said the day. So yeah, maybe they are using Pacific time. It'll be till 11:59 West Coast time that they have to make a deal. I want to try to be balanced with this. And obviously, because it's not fair to pin everything, all the problems that baseball is having right now on just one side or the other. With that being said, I'm not sure what more the players could be doing at this point, short of just throwing their hands up and accepting the status quo. And I can't help myself here. If any of you are fans of Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog from about 15 years ago, the status is not quo. Players' salaries in baseball have been dropping regularly for the last 4 years, which doesn't make sense because baseball's revenues have been going up for the last 20 years. They've exploded exponentially over the last decade. Perfect example. When the Ricketts family bought the Cubs in 2009, they spent just under $900 million. They are now estimated by Forbes to be worth over $4 billion. That's a huge growth in 13 years, as I fail to do a little bit of simple math there. Baseball routinely, as a Major League Baseball, as an entity, brings in the neighborhood of $10 billion annually. It makes no sense that the teams can't responsibly and fairly compensate their players. And I know that fans instinctively do not want to take the side of the players. And it's because it's so hard for us to relate. You know, we don't make 7, 8 figure, 9 figures. We don't play a game for a living. So it's hard for fans to relate to players on this. I get it. I understand it. At the same time, we're also not billionaires. We're also not people that basically just get to print money simply because we own a team. And the line that the owners constantly put out, like, oh, you know, you'd be better off playing the stock market than you would owning a Major League Baseball team. Baloney. Malarkey. The Cubs have quadrupled in value in the last decade. You're not going to get a return like that on a stock exchange. There's actually a piece done on that where I forget the financial institution. I apologize. I don't have it up in front of me. A financial institution actually looked at that claim and as you would expect, said, oh, yeah, owning a major league team, you far exceeded your expectations than if you were to have invested that same amount of money into the S&P 500. You way outperformed. So the notion that owners are operating at a loss or operating at some kind of disadvantage, that owning a Major League Baseball team is somehow disadvantageous to them. Don't give me that. Don't give me that malarkey. Don't give me that bullcrap. Because that's what it is. It's baloney. It's bogus. Maybe you're not making as much money as you would like, but you're not hurting. I know that same argument can be made for the players, but the players are who we go to see. The players are what we go to enjoy when we go to a ballpark. We go to the ballpark, we go to Wrigley Field, or we go to U.S. Cellular because we want to see some of the best players in the game. We want to see Wilson Contreras. We want to see They're not there anymore, but Chris Bryant and Anthony Rizzo. We want to see Carlos Rodon. We want to see Michael Kopech. We're not going to see the owners. We're not going to simply and exclusively support just the logo. You want to see a quality product out in the field. Well, quality product requires spending money. It's not wrong for the players to demand their fair share. Should we look at it and say, $4 million isn't enough to live off of? Of course not. That was the average MLB salary last year, was just north of $4 million. Of course, $4 million is enough to live off of for a normal human being for a lifetime. Of course it is. But if you're part of an industry that makes $10 billion and you are a major part of the reason why that industry is making $10 billion, yeah, $4 million isn't enough. I'm sorry. That's way short. And as we get into these negotiations, remember the owners locked the players out. Meaning this is all on the owners. And they did it. We don't want to get into the minutia of a difference between a lockout and a strike. We get caught up in the weeds there. But they locked the players out, quote, so that we could accelerate negotiations. And then they promptly sat on their butts and didn't do anything for 42 days. This lockout started on December 2nd. They didn't start actually talking to each other for over a month. The owners have no interest in actually fixing this. And just like in 2020, when we had the pandemic shortened season, every time the players have come at the owners with an offer, they're met with the exact same offer that they rejected the last time. Back in 2020, it was, we want to pay you for 60 games. Well, no, we'd like to play 120 games. Okay, fine. We'll pay you for 120 games, but only at half pay. No, that's the same as getting paid for 60 games. Okay, well, we'll pay you at a quarter pay, but we'll do a full season. No, that's the same as if we played 60 games. Why don't the players want to negotiate with us? It's the same thing that's going on now. Every time the players come at them with, hey, we moved on something. Now can you move on something? They're met with, no, we're not moving. It's 20%. It's 20% or nothing, or it's the collective bargaining tax is going to be $215 million. Hey, we came down from our number. That means you move up on yours. No, we're not moving. The owners don't seem to have an interest or care in fixing this. They seem to be content in letting this die. I don't get that. At some point, the players are just going to throw up their own hands and just, go off and start their own league or something. But this feels like the players are the only ones interested in actively fixing this. That doesn't mean that everything the players are trying to do is right. I still think the players are way off base in insisting that there not be a salary cap. That to me is just crazy and ludicrous. I'd be begging for a salary cap at this point because that requires transparency. That requires a salary floor, so that you can't just decide we're the Pittsburgh Pirates and we're only going to spend $50 million on salary this year, while meanwhile the Dodgers are going to go out and spend $280 million on salary. You can't have that big of a discrepancy there. I get where the players are coming from of we don't want to cap what teams spend. Well, guess what? They're already doing that. They've already decided to do that. You're just playing by old rules from 50 years ago. And they're getting so bogged down in the weeds, too, with all this. There are legitimate problems with the way the game is played that just aren't going to get fixed. They're just not. It doesn't matter when this gets resolved in this collective bargaining agreement. We're still going to see strikeouts hit an all-time high. We're still going to see the fewest balls in play that we've probably ever seen. We're still going to see more home runs hit in any season than we've probably ever seen. And we're going to see the games get longer and slower. None of that's going to get fixed. So at the end of the day, all this is going to accomplish is just behind-the-scenes stuff between how the money changes hands, which ultimately, at the end of the day, for the fans, doesn't affect the way we enjoy the end product, other than we can be content that, hey, our team is actively trying to win. It's a frustrating place to be. Hopefully it gets resolved. Of course, they haven't, Manfred hasn't come out and killed anything yet, but he also hasn't come out and confirmed that the season is saved yet. We'll see what happens. From that unpleasant topic to a team that is actively trying to win, the Chicago Bulls are playing the Miami Heat tonight down in Miami as we speak. Currently, it is Miami 47, Bulls 30. Ugh. Hopefully that'll improve. But we are going to be talking at a little bit more macro of a level as we talk about just how good of a season is DeMar DeRozan having. Evan Bruner of Fansided is going to join us next. This is Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Right back after this.
Calling all Indiana sports fans, this is your podcast. Welcome to High Octane Entertainment on IE Sports Radio. Join me, Justin Lahr, as your host on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific to hear all the latest and greatest sports updates on everything from college to the pros in the...
Yep. Always have great guests, playing some good hip-hop. Don't want to miss it. Make sure to tune in to the BS3 Sports Show every other Saturday.
Town Sports, greatest, and I mean the absolute greatest podcast team right here on IESR Sports Radio. That's right. Come join me every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live from the greatest city on earth, Boston, Massachusetts. Here to talk about all things Boston sports. That is right, baby. We get in to talk about some Boston Red Sox, Boston Celtics, Boston Bruins, New England Revolutions, Boston College Eagles, and of course, your host's favorite team of all, the New England Patriots, baby. Woo! That's right. Come join your host, Beantown Brandon, and let's relive all the glory days of the past, all the great championships that we've endured, all the horrible, heartbreaking losses that even yours truly chooses to forget. So you know what? Grab an ice-cold Samuel Adams. Come with me to Faneuil Hall as we go pick up that lobster roll we've been craving earlier in the week. Let's get some clam chowder, warm ourselves up to some Titletown sports. Any way you like it, we're going to have a blast. So you know what to do. Join your host, Beantown Brandon, every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, coming at you from the home and the heartland of Boston, Massachusetts, to represent your New England and Boston sports. Weekly, right here on Titletown Sports, IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is Boston sports. See you there.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Dentarius Locke.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That give you guys spending time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. So transitioning out of baseball into a much more fun topic to be having here in the city of Chicago right now, the Chicago Bulls. They have tightened things up down in Miami, taking on the Heat with the number one spot in the East on the line tonight. It is 49-40 with 3 minutes to go left in the first half. Of course, the big talk around the Bulls and the NBA at large is the season DeMar DeRozan is having. Legitimately an MVP-worthy campaign. We've heard some national people chime in, but we wanted to kind of dive into it. Is DeMar having the best season by a Bulls player since Michael Jordan? I had an opinion on that, but then my guest here, he's got some thoughts that disagree with mine, but I'm not sure he's wrong. Evan Bruner covers the Bulls, the Bears, the NFL over on Fansided. You can follow him on Twitter at eBruner23. And Evan joins us now tonight to talk about DeMar DeRozan versus Derrick Rose. Evan, good evening.
Hey, how are you doing?
I am doing really well. Thank you, first of all, for coming on. This was thrown together at just about the last minute. So I want to say thank you for being flexible with your time and for coming on here tonight.
Oh, of course. Whenever I have time to talk about some sports, I have no problem, changing my plans.
Oh, it's the best, isn't it? All right. Well, let's start with the premise here. DeMar DeRozan's current season versus Derrick Rose's MVP season from just over a decade ago. Which season is better?
So when I was first looking at these two seasons, I didn't really know what direction I was going to go in, just because it's never going to be a clean comparison when you're looking at 2 seasons, 10 years apart, 2 different positions, 2 very different playing styles. So I wasn't really sure, but as I dove deeper into it, I've started to see that I feel like DeMar DeRozan has done a lot more for the Bulls because he's been asked to do a lot more. And so looking at the construction of the 2011 Bulls team, they were the best defensive team in basketball, and they were also the second best rebounding team. That's classic Tom Thibodeau basketball right there for you. But because of that, it was very team-oriented. You didn't need one guy to take over. And so although Derrick Rose was, by far the best player and the most valuable player on that team, they didn't need him to play hero ball. And looking at what's gone on with the Bulls this year, and a lot of it has been because of, this barrage of injuries they've been hit with over the last few weeks. Guys like Alex Caruso, Lonzo Ball, even Zach LaVine, he's been in and out of the lineup. The Bulls have been forced to use DeRozan in a very different way. And so they have been living and dying by him this past month. And it's not just that they've been asking him to do all of these things. It's that they've been relying on him so heavily, and it's working. They're winning games. He's scoring at an efficient clip. And he is leading this team to, now they're a game back of the 1 seed in the East. They have a chance to tie it up tonight, but, to the top of the Eastern Conference standings. And so I feel like when you look at pure value, if you take DeMar DeRozan off the Bulls and you still think about all the injuries, they get hit with COVID early in the year, I feel like this is a play-in team.
A play-in team, really? With all the moves and additions, you take DeMar DeRozan off this team, they're a play-in team.
Well, right now they are, because Zach LaVine's been injured. I think if you have a healthy Zach LaVine wire to wire, this is probably closer to a 5 or 6 seed. But you have to think about health. I don't think having DeMar DeRozan, would change any of those things. And so when you think about how much time they've missed, Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso, because those guys, 2 of the best perimeter defenders in basketball, really hurt their defense. Zach LaVine, obviously, he's an all-star player, hasn't been on the court as much the past month or so. I do truly believe that this is a team that's probably closer to the 7 to 8 range than they are to, the 1 to 2 seed.
Okay, and I see Davidson, who is the host of our Fast Break show here on Sunday nights, is chiming in, and he's, I don't know about that. Davidson, what specifically there? As we keep going here with Evan Bruner here on Chi-Town Weekly, so looking at this season, when we compare this season to what Derrick Rose did, of course, Derrick, he's the icon. He's the golden boy, the son of Chicago, made good. What was it about the 2 seasons, though, that jumped out at you the most is like, this is where DeRozan is better? Is it just the fact that he hit those game winners on 3 separate nights I can think of? New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and then the one last week?
Oh, well, for sure. He's been the best player in basketball this year in clutch time. And so for a team like the Bulls, that they've been in a lot of really tight games, having a player like that has been huge for them. But I just think more than anything, it comes down to the role that DeRozan has had to take offensively. And he's really been, the go-to guy in all spots, even, outside of the fourth quarter. And it's not just that he's scoring at this crazy rate, the most points he scored in his career, but he's also doing it at such an efficient rate. So scoring 28 points per game, 51% shooting from the field, 36% shooting from 3, also getting to the free throw line, shooting around 8 a game, shooting 86% there. It's not only been volume, it's been high efficiency. And so more than anything, it's not meant to be a knock on Derrick Rose as much as a testament to how great this season DeMar DeRozan is having.
And with that season that DeRozan is having, he's playing a style that feels more like it belongs in the 1990s, in the Jordan era, rather than the modern era of Steph Curry, 3 is more than 2 kind of basketball.
Yeah, for sure. Whenever you're looking at the league, we're moving much more towards a spacing and three-point shooting style. And so to be able to go against the grain successfully, at least, you have to be good enough to be an exception to the rule. Overall, generally speaking, you are better off shooting more threes. But if you are really good at what you do, you can be an exception to that rule. We saw it a little bit with Zion Williamson. I know he hasn't been healthy this year, but last season, took almost all the shots from the paint. He was so dominant there, he was able to get away with it. It's kind of the same thing with DeMar DeRozan. The mid-range, on paper, is the least efficient shot because it is harder than a layup, but it's the same value as a layup. And a three-point shot is not it's just a little bit harder, but it's worth one more point. So that's why you're seeing fewer and fewer teams shoot the mid-range shot. And DeMar DeRozan, he just happens to be the best mid-range player in today's game. And so he's just decided that's how he's going to continue to play, and it's worked like a charm.
Is there something to the argument, too? I've made this argument once or twice, but basketball, I'm a little more basketball crazy and with my ideas than others. Is there something to the idea, too, that since teams aren't valuing the mid-range shot, they're not defending it as heavily, therefore, hey, take it. It's open. It's there.
Well, I think the main reason why DeRozan's been so successful, the mid-range shot is, you guard that how you guard any other shot. But DeRozan has had so much success because he has one of the best fadeaways in today's game. You can kind of see he's modeled it a little bit after Kobe, after Jordan. Those guys had two of the greatest fadeaways in league history. And so the whole point of that shot is even if you're in good position, you can still make that shot. And so I think that's what makes DeRozan's game so hard to guard, is even when you're in good position, if he gets it at the right angle, it's still going to go in.
Talking with Evan Bruner of Fansided here on Chi-Town Weekly about DeMar DeRozan and, of course, the argument against Derrick Rose. So if you were to... One of the interesting cases I saw in your piece, too, was you made the point that with Derrick Rose, the Bulls were good even without Rose the season before. So if you were to take Rose away from the 2010-2011, he just doesn't play that season. The Bulls are still, a 50-win team that year?
I still think they're a good team. They're obviously not the best team in basketball. They needed star power. They didn't have a ton of that. But the following season, which was the lockout year, so 2012, Derrick Rose missed around half the season, and they still had the best record in the NBA. And so the point I was trying to make is Tom Thibodeau's style is supposed to be a well-rounded team effort. And so we saw that even when you took Derrick Rose away, the team could still be really good because the things they did well, rebounding, defense, those are team elements. That's not something that just one guy is doing.
Makes perfect sense. All right, so now let's look at DeMar just this season. There's a lot of conflicting on how well he'd actually do in the MVP voting. I know 538 has their metric that they use where he'd be right around 10th overall. You've got guys like the Joker. You've got Giannis. Where do you think DeRozan actually finishes in the MVP voting?
Well, the tough thing about MVP voting, it's not just about the season you're having. It's about the seasons that everyone else around you is having. And so while DeRozan is having an MVP caliber season, you can't just ignore what Nikola Jokic is doing. He's leading his team in points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, also leads the league in player efficiency rating. Joel Embiid's having a great year. You also mentioned Giannis and even Steph. Narratives matter a lot, and I think you're seeing the media has talked a lot about him winning the award. So there's a real chance DeRozan gets fifth place, which is crazy to think about. It would be a historically great fifth MVP season for what that's worth. For me, I think he should be third. I think after Jokic and Embiid, he's the third most valuable player in the league. But I also don't think he has, gets the same recognition. He doesn't have the same type of star power that guys like Giannis and Steph do. And that does matter in this type of voting.
And, of course, ironically, Ball and Caruso are going to be coming back here in the near future for the Bulls. That's probably going to hurt DeRozan's MVP chances, isn't it?
Yeah, just because he's not going to be able to score as much, which is really good for the Bulls because they've been relying on him such an unhealthy amount. I don't think it's fair to ride one guy, especially because you don't want him to wear down before the postseason. And DeRozan has some postseason concerns of his own. So bringing those guys back, they make a huge difference defensively. And with LaVine getting closer to 100%, that also is another all-star, another high-level scorer that can also take away from him. I think when this Bulls team is at its best, it's when you have it is even. You have several guys stepping up, playing their roles right now, and you have guys like Lonzo and Caruso. They're not really replaceable. What they do is so unique. And so in that absence, they're asking DeRozan to do so much more. I think this becomes a much more dangerous team come playoff time with guys like Caruso and Ball back.
All right, one more question here for Evan Bruner of Fansided, talking Chicago Bulls here. All right, how do you see them getting through this week? They got Miami tonight, down 55-46 at the half. Then they've got Atlanta. Then they've got Milwaukee to close out this week. What should we realistically expect?
I always thought they were going to lose to Miami. This is just, you talked about it at the break. It's a really tough place to play. They're a really good team playing really good basketball. That's one that you love to win, but you always know that, you're kind of, behind the eight ball there. Then going up against Atlanta, I think that is a winnable game. That's a team that isn't playing as well as some people expected. Ayo Dosunmu's done a great job on Trae Young in their meetings. Milwaukee, that's one of those toss-ups because they are division rivals, and Giannis is just such a hard player to guard and defend. But I do think with how the Bulls were playing, especially before they lost on Saturday, I'd still give them the edge. I think they go 2-1.
All right. We'll look forward to it. Well, Evan, thank you so much. This has been outstanding and excellent. Be sure to follow Evan on Twitter at eBruner23 and read his work on Fansided.
Thank you so much.
All right. We are going to take one more quick break, and then on the flip side of that, the Chicago Fire started their season. Soccer. Yes, we're going to talk just a little bit of soccer before we get out of here tonight. This is Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Back after this.
Attention, all sports fans. If you're someone who wakes up each morning with lists of sporting events to go along with your to-do list for the day, then you just might be a diehard. The world of sports is as vast as the ocean is deep, including the major leagues, the minor leagues, the college, and everything in between. This is me, your boy Larry B of IE Sports Radio, welcoming you to join me every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on The Defining Moment, a show that focuses on what really matters in the sports world, sports themselves, and nothing outside of them. Once again, tune in for The Defining Moment with me, your boy Larry B, every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on IE Sports Radio, right here on Spreaker.com. We'll see you there.
What's happening, sports fans? Are you a fan of Southern California sports? Are you looking for a show hotter than a hot summer day in California? Then look no further than the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, where I talk about all things Southern California sports. That's right, all sports teams from Southern California. From the hard-hitting tackles of the NFL, to the killer crossovers and big three-pointers of the NBA and WNBA, to the grand slams of the MLB, to the bone-chilling goals of the NHL, and to the booming kicks of the MLS, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show has it all for you. Oh, and let us not forget about the college sports as well. So join me, Taryn Rodriguez, every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hi everybody, it's Calvin here from USRN, here to give you an important message. Since 2017, we have done our absolute best to provide you with nothing but the highest quality of sports calls in the greatest of quantity possible. Thanks to you, our station has grown more than we ever thought. That's why, with your help, we would like to grow even further. Just think, twice the amount of your favorite calls, 24 hours of coverage, talk shows, play-by-play, game-by-game analysis, and so much more. That's right, USRN2 is officially in development. But we can't do it alone. We have set up a GoFundMe page that you can access from our homepage on the left of your screen. We also are planning special giveaways and prizes to our highest owners. Our goal here at USRN is to bring you the best calls possible at no cost to you. In order to continue to do that, we need your help now. Please check out our GoFundMe page, and if you would like to know how you can help, you can email usrnradio@gmail.com. Without your support, we couldn't do what we do.
It's IE Sports Radio. It is your direct feed for all that is sports. It is Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris every Tuesday night right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris is the most comprehensive view on Philadelphia sports exclusively right here on IE Sports Radio. You know what it is, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tuesday night, IE Sports Radio, Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris.
Motorsports takes many forms, and there's one show on IE Sports Radio that's ready to cover it all.
I sure hope you're talking about you and I, Daryl, because I know the Extra Mile is the best place to go for everything motorsports related.
Yes, it is. From NASCAR to IndyCar to sports cars to everything in between, IE Sports Radio has everything covered for the fastest sport in the world.
Plus, don't forget all of our random shenanigans along the way.
That's right, Caitlin. So for plenty of motorsports coverage and plenty of Caitlinisms, check out The Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio with Daryl Kinsey Jr. and Caitlin Seen, Thursdays at 8 p.m.
And welcome back to Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio. We got time for one more segment before we wrap things up tonight. 3 segments, 3 different sports. Why not? We can do it. Let's talk about some soccer tonight. We don't talk much about the Chicago Fire. We're going to rectify that right here tonight. They started their 2022 season over the weekend down in Miami, taking on Inter Miami Football Club. The two teams played to a 0-0 draw. The Chicago debut, of course, for their new midfielder, Xherdan Shaqiri, didn't necessarily end the way Chicago would have liked. They do get a point out of the standings on it. Couple of nice opportunities on both sides. Leonardo Campana had an opportunity early for Miami. Looked like Miami was going to get off to an early 1-0 start. However, Campana's header, fortunately, hit off of the crossbar and out of play. Unfortunately, the Fire had the best opportunity to score in the game. I saw this on the highlights when I was reviewing it for tonight's show. A beautiful, beautiful opportunity for Stanislav Ivanov. Got a great pass. I am absolutely going to destroy this name. Gina, if you're still in the chat, we talk about struggling with hockey names. Oh boy. Kasper Przybylko. I'm gonna go with it. I said it. Kasper. That was a lot easier. Kasper gave Stanislav an outstanding pass that got the Miami keeper completely out of position, got off a great shot. Unfortunately, Ivanov's aim was off just a touch. He hit the post, and missed a wide open net. That was the best. That was absolutely the best opportunity that Chicago had in the game. Even though Shaqiri didn't have too many great moments in the match, that wasn't to say that there wasn't anything to take away for Chicago. 17-year-old keeper Gabriel Slonina got 4 saves in the match, and he had some outstanding ones. There are definitely some breakdowns defensively and some things that happened during the match that if Slonina was a little less talented or a little less gifted of a keeper, there would have been a couple that would have gotten past him, and Miami would have come away victorious, and Chicago would be heading home with nothing. Slonina, he tried out for the men's national team in the offseason, and in fact made it, I believe, made it onto the men's national team this offseason. They have got an outstanding young keeper in Gabriel Slonina, only 17 years old, and from right here in Illinois, from Addison, just a little bit away from Chicago. They've got something there with that kid. It'll be really interesting and exciting to see what they're able to do with him. Also, how long they will be able to keep him with the team, because of course Major League Soccer being not being necessarily the height of the sport, of the global game of football, it's not that uncommon that players will wind up going overseas. It'd be interesting to see if Slonina ever does make it across the pond and plays in something like the Champions League or the Premier League or something like that, kind of doing the opposite of what Xherdan Shaqiri is doing this year. Coming up next for Chicago, they will get back onto the pitch. They stay down in Florida. They next play Saturday night down in Orlando. That'll be at 5 o'clock this Saturday afternoon. For those that have ESPN Plus, the game will be available to you there. So we will see. Orlando scored 2 goals in its first match of the season, defeating CF Montreal 2-0 to open its season. So Orlando coming in already with 3 points on the season. The Fire just with the 1 point for earning the draw. But we'll see. We'll see what this season. Of course, last year was not good for the Fire at all. Didn't have very many wins at all in the 2021 season. I'm double checking exactly how many they had. Sorry, I should know better than to do this live on the air. Just 9 wins a season ago, only finished with 34 points a season ago. We'll see if they're able to improve upon that number at all this season. But definitely some things to be keeping an eye on, and maybe, hopefully, some signs of some excitement here to come this summer, especially if we're not going to have baseball to cheer us on or keep us going. I'm sorry, I hate to still be a Debbie Downer about that, but it's frustrating. We haven't gotten any bad news yet from Manfred today, so hopefully we'll keep it that way. All right, that is going to do it for our show this week. Want to say a big thank you to Evan Bruner of Fansided. Please go check out his work at Fansided and follow him at eBruner23. He covers the Bulls. He also covers the Bears and the NFL Draft for Fansided. So I think we will be hearing from Evan again here in the near future, especially as we get closer and closer to the draft at basically the end of next month now, because it's basically March. So a big thank you to Evan. That came together just a couple of hours before the show. So big thank you to Evan for hopping on and being a guest with us tonight. Thank you again to our sponsors, Southern California Warriors, And, of course, for Background Check International for continuing to sponsor not just this show, but all of the shows on the network. Big thank you and shout out to Larry B for everything that he does here at the station. I know he was at the NASCAR race this weekend, had some fun out there. Thank you to everybody for hanging out in the chat room tonight. Thank you to Mike Pat and Gina Davidson and for Marcus hopping on in. And of course, thank you to Taryn for always being there in the chat rooms for us. Stick around as Taryn is going to get ready and do Set Point, getting us all caught up on everything going on in the world of volleyball, including talking some more about Loyola men's volleyball team, so be sure to stick around for that. If you want to hear some more from me, I will be on again tomorrow night talking all things hockey on the Neutral Zone. Going to have a guest on, Zach. My usual co-host is got the night off tomorrow, so Matthew Owens from USRN, our sister station, is kind enough to stop on by and spend some time talking hockey with me tomorrow. Until then, everybody be good, stay safe, go Bulls as they are getting ready to start the second half here in Miami. We will talk again next week. This is Adam Karnick for IE Sports Radio. We'll see you next week.